Hey card making friends, it's Sandy here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm playing with some new dies from the Rain and Shine release from Simon Says Stamps, and we're going to make a little Easter wreath card. I have two little bunny sets. The first one is the Bounding Bunnies, and there's two little dies in here, and so you cut them twice, and this little one that's a little half, that is a little blank to go behind the die for the bunny so that when you add his eye and his ear, the pieces don't fall through. So I looked at that for a couple of minutes and thought, what the heck? Anyway, cut them twice, once out of white, once out of pink, and you're good to go. The second one is Cuddle Bunny, and he has a few more pieces. So he has two dies, a blank for the back to build on, and then the front, and you cut that out 3 times, once in the gray, once in the pink, and once in the black, and then you have all the little pieces to inlay into the die cut piece. Okay, so pretty straightforward, so I didn't die cut them and separate them out. Next, we are going to play with the hanging leaf ring, and this is from a previous release, but it's great for making wreaths, which I'm going to use today to make our little Easter wreath. So you want to cut the leaves out 3 times, you want to cut the flowers out 2 or 3 times out of 3 different colors, and then cut the circle, and that's what we're going to build on. I have a little no-stick mat that I'm going to be working on today. First thing I'm going to do is cut off that little hanging loop, and then I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to start gluing the die cut pieces. Now you don't want to put glue all the way to either end because you want to be able to lift them to put the next piece underneath. So leave a little bit of it not glued down. See, like that? Got the top 3 leaves that I can just pop the next one underneath. You could also work your way around the other way if you want. I just found this one was easier to do this way. Okay, and I'm putting all 3 pieces down, and then I'm starting again with the long piece with the small leaves, and again the 2 larger ones, working my way around, and 3 of them fill in the wreath quite nicely. And you may see a few tails, you may see a couple of bald spots, but that's where we're going to be adding the flowers. Okay, so here's my 3rd of the long ones, and you can kind of bend them as you go and just glue them to that little circle that you have for your base. Okay, and there we go. For my flowers, I just grabbed a bunch of cardstock from my bin, and so I'm going to use Rhubarb and Carnation ink from Simon Says Stamps, and I'm just going to darken up the kind of the centers and then out a little bit on the petals just to add a little bit of shadow, and these 2 inks kind of cover basically the colors that I've got here. You don't need to be too detailed about this because most of the flowers are going to have one over top, and then when we're completely finished, we're going to put some yellow stickles into the center of each of the top flowers. So we're just kind of adding a little bit of shadow, adding a little bit more detail, and some of it you're going to see, some of it you're probably not. And in case you've noticed, I've got something sticky on my finger. my flowers keep sticking to it. It's driving me crazy. Okay, so I think this is almost the last one. This ink blending shows up more obviously on these larger petals than it does on the medium and the small ones. But it's a nice little thing to add. Next, I'm going to layer these, and what I have done is I've taken some of these foam squares. These are the Simon 3D foam squares. There's a small and a large in the package. I'm using the small ones, and I have cut them long ways so that they'll fit behind the flowers, and then I've also cut those into quarter-size pieces so that they fit behind the smallest flower. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to take different sizes of these little guys, and you're going to layer them together. And then you're going to put a piece of foam on the back, and that gives us dimension on our wreath. Okay, now that we have all the pieces, we can finish our wreath. I did put a couple of the little foam squares on the back of the bunny, and again, now I'm going to start layering all of these together and gluing them down to the wreath. And I'm using my Place and Score embellishment wand. This thing is awesome for picking up little tiny die cuts and positioning them where you want them. Next, I'm going to need a sentiment for my card front, and my card front is Sea Glass, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is another stamp and die set that is new this month. It's Ear-Resistibly cute, and it really is. And there's all kinds of little bunnies, but there's some great sentiments too. I'm going to use this little Happy Easter guy right here, and I'm going to white emboss on the center bottom of each of my panels. Okay, so I'm setting everything up inside my MISTI, including my card front, which again is sea glass from Simon Says Stamps, making sure that it's straight. Okay, and then I'm going to get rid of any of my fingerprints and anything sticky. This is a brand new stamp, so I am just going to rub it with my finger to get it going a little bit, and then cover it with my embossing ink and pressing down firmly. Okay, and then you want to remove that from the MISTI, and I'm just going to pop it into my white embossing powder, shake off any of the excess, and heat set it. And when you're heat setting, you want to just get it warm enough that it starts to turn and become a nice shiny white. And you don't want to overbake it because it will turn brown really, really quickly. So got to pay attention. Sometimes some people actually heat from the back and helps to eliminate that. Okay, so I'm kind of liking that so far, but what I'm going to do is a little bit of an audition with the wreath that I created. I'm just going to dry fit it on here and make sure I'm happy with the way everything's laid out. And I am. So let's get going on finishing this card. I've attached the card front to a top folding A2 sized white card base, 4 1/4 by 11, score and fold at 5 1/2. And next we are going to add our wreath. So I'm just going around the circle on the back of the wreath with my Barely Art Glue. Just need that. And I have one foam square behind the bunny's head. Okay, and you're going to center that onto your card front and then gently press it down so that it's nice and secure. And then we're going to set that aside to dry. And then we're coming back in with some yellow Stickles, and this is what I'm going to use for the center of each of the flowers. If you don't have yellow Stickles, don't worry about it. Just take a hole punch and some yellow cardstock and make a little center for each one of the flowers. For my final embellishment, I used some clear Pawsitively Dazzling gems from Simon Says Stamps, and I just kind of sprinkled them around the wreath on the inside and the outside, and as you can see, one large one down by the sentiment as well. So everything that I've used today is listed underneath this video. There's also a link over to my blog where you will find them over there, along with the details and thumbnails of each of the products used today. And if you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would consider giving me a thumbs up and leaving a kind comment and sharing it with your friends. And thank you so much for stopping in today. And until next time, toodles!